I don't think people understand how violent Mississippi was. If black people try and vote, they can get hurt or killed.
Registered voter, you're not a first-class citizen.
They would say, you're right, boy. We should be registered to vote. I ain't going down there to mess with them white people.
We hope to send into Mississippi this summer upwards of 1,000 students from all around the country who will engage in freedom schools, voter registration activity, and open up Mississippi to the country.
It was always in the back of everybody's mind that bad things were going to happen. But if you cared about this country and you cared about democracy, then you had to go down.
In 1964, civil rights organizations and committees organized a voter registration drive known as the Mississippi Summer Project. This was aimed at dramatically increasing black voter registration in Mississippi, as well as aiding the local population. Volunteers faced constant abuse and harassment from the white population. Ku Klux Klan, police, and even state authorities. Here is a short interview with a survivor of one of the many bus burnings that took place in Mississippi.
Did you all think you were going to die on that bus?
I certainly did. I knew if I got off the bus, I knew the mob would kill me.
How old were you at the time?
19.
19.
And they were yelling, we're gonna kill these niggas.
The day after the drive started, 3 students mysteriously disappeared. After weeks of searching, their dead bodies were found to have been buried in an earthen dam along with the wreckage of their car. The men's disappearance that night was reported on TV and on newspaper front pages, shocking the nation. It drew massive media attention to Freedom Summer and to Mississippi's closed society. The project did not succeed in getting many voters registered, but it had a significant effect on the course of the civil rights movement, as the events that summer had succeeded in capturing national attention. After all of this effort, President Lyndon Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act, which barred discrimination in voting and was a major breakthrough for African Americans. Though we may not notice it in our everyday lives, the same problem of black voter suppression still exists today. However, nowadays the system is taken advantage of, with acts such as gerrymandering in elections, which is the exploiting of electoral boundaries to favor one party and to suppress minorities. Voting restrictions have also started coming up again, as is highlighted in the short video segment from a 2014 news show.
The United States Supreme Court struck down the part of the Voting Rights Act that allowed for extra scrutiny of states like Mississippi. The part that stopped states like Mississippi, who have a history of blocking their black citizens from voting. The Supreme Court blocked the part of the Voting Rights Act that made Mississippi and other states have to get federal permission before they change their voting rules, so as to make sure that they didn't use those rules once again to hurt black people's voting rights. When the Supreme Court overturned that part of LBJ's Voting Rights Act this past summer, that same day, Mississippi, as well as Alabama and North Carolina and Texas, they all announced that very day that they would move ahead immediately with new restrictions on voting. Restrictions they'd wanted to institute before, but they had been blocked by the old voting rights law that banned changes that were too racist, too racially discriminatory in their impact.
The same form of protests that took place in the 1960s can still be beneficial to us today. We can campaign and rally in these same states and cities, such as Mississippi, where voting restrictions have once again started to become a problem, and demand access to the same basic right that the Mississippi Summer Project asked for: equal voting rights for all.